Yes, guys, welcome back to the second ever episode of Bricks and Gigs with Justin and Ray. Now, today is actually a very monumental day and a very monumental episode. Now, the reason I say that is because it's the first episode where we've brought a guest. And this guest is super inspiring to me. Me and Ray have knew this guest for a very long time. He's very good friends of ours. And yeah, there's not many people that we actually look up to within property because, as we know, there's a lot of people who maybe don't tell the truth all the time. And yeah, but this guy has always kept it real. So it's actually a very good privilege to have him on here. So we're going to have a nice casual chat and we're actually going to be spilling, as always, the proper tea. So I'm going to let Ray do the accolades and introduce him.
So I've had to write this down because I want to make sure your introduction is worthy of you. So we are honoured to introduce Cheung, a 32-year-old property beast with a property portfolio value of 9.4 million, with a further 11.9 million in progress. Not only is he a successful property investor, he owns his own accountancy firm, he's a husband to Joey, a dad to Kaylee and Jamie, and a very, very good friend. Whenever I speak to someone about you, Sean, they have never got a bad word to say about you, which I think shows testament for the kind of person you are. And it shows that you're here today wanting nothing in return and just happy to give up your time. Drove here like a boss in a G-Wagon, parked it next to our car, made it look like a Ford Fiesta, 95 plate.
Speed bump.
So yeah, buzzing to have you, Sean. Thank you for coming. Shall we give Sean a round of applause?
I've got my cup of coffee.
Okay, just me then.
Thank you, Sean,
Thank
for
you,
coming
Sean.
on. So to start with, would you like to just give us a bit of a background on yourself? So obviously we've just done like a little bit of an intro into like what you've done and what you're currently doing, but would you like to just put in your own words what it is you've been up to, what it is you've got going on?
Where you started,
yeah.
I think it's a good place to start
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, let's go from there then.
No, absolutely. No, first of all, thanks for having me on here, and I'm honoured to be on the first kind of guest show. And we're like I said, just have a casual chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
This wasn't rehearsed, so like
Yeah, this is just
we're
take one straight through.
literally just recording like a normal conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, where it all started. Obviously, you guys know I'm an accountant. I kind of finished uni. To be fair, before being an accountant, I worked in a takeaway. Not many people like talk about it because you kind of feel a bit embarrassed to say I used to work in like a Chinese takeaway, but that's sort of the upbringing. A lot of like BBCs, as we call it, British-born Chinese. A lot of our kind kind of work for the parents for nothing, and then you end up kind of going through the graft already. Because I've said to people, it's only now where I've had time to actually reflect. I'm like, back then, I used to be like 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the takeaway, kind of helping mom and dad out, prepping all the veg and stuff. Like, you go and buy a takeout, you don't think about the prep work before it. You just go and it's there within like 5 minutes. But there's a lot of stuff kind of behind it. And then there's a lot of discipline with like how my parents ran a business. So every increment of my upbringing has kind of shaped me to the person I am. And that's the same with like family kind of values, where we always used to eat around the table every day. Doesn't matter if they're so busy, we'd always honour that. And it'll be with my uncles and my uncles that used to work as well. So I always had that kind of drilled into me that I want to raise my family with that kind of upbringing. Probably not working in a takeaway, but at the very least, to just kind of not see like it's all handed down to you. And I remember like I used to do all the chores in the house. I was literally like, my cousin said, like, "You're a slave." I was just like, it's like they never went through that. They were the bright ones, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we're just like revising." I was crap at studying. I think you hear it a lot with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I just love learning. So I'd probably get 90% on these like mini tests, but like when it comes to like exam days, I'm just shocking. But anyways, yeah, so it was sort of like an upbringing of like, my parents always wanted me to do well and always thought I was capable of doing more. So I get shafted and it's like, why did you study the night before and stuff like that? And it's like, well, only now I reflect on it, I realize like you learn in a certain type of way and it's not for everyone, I think. But back then you weren't told anything different. You kind of followed the system, and then sometimes you kind of self-doubt yourself as well.
Yeah.
Without the network that's kind of supported me over the years, I wouldn't have been able to realise that. So kind of fast forward, did accountancy stuff, and then I did a lot of like HMRC investigations with my previous mentors. We had like 70 odd cases at one point. So these are people that have been caught or allegedly owed tax, and then we'd have to help them out with just reaching a resolution.
Was any of them property investors?
Yeah, one of my main cases was.
Really?
Yeah,
Justin's
yeah,
now
yeah,
shitting
yeah.
his
Yeah,
pants.
I'm just.
It's all been settled now,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like the busy idiot vibe where you're just running a business.
Yeah.
You kind of forget about the rest, but because you're so focused on building a business, you've left yourself a massive tax bill. So unnamed person bought about 10 houses in London, and then he didn't pay anything, and then he wanted to go straight, which is the right option to do. But then obviously you kind of trigger the whole, where did you get this? How did you buy that? And if I'm honest, a lot of it was capital appreciation. It was all in London, so like he made his money by refinancing and stuff. Funnily enough, he's the first person I went to ask about property.
Really?
Yeah, so
the person who got investigated for tax.
Yeah. So we helped him out of that. He's paid the bills, and he's still on to like doing loads of stuff.
Yeah.
And, I sat in his lounge. I remember he showed me on a piece of paper which I've kept. It's in my back of my goals book, and he said, "Look, you've got 200 grand. Why would you buy one house without a mortgage? Wait to pay down whatever mortgage and then like buy another one."
Yeah.
He said, just leverage your 200 grand, 50 grand each. You've got 4 houses, the typical kind of what you learn from all your courses. And I was like, oh yeah, kind of that was an oh yeah moment. And then it was weird because on Instagram, literally like 2 days afterwards, the legacy kind of adverts came up.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's a 3-day course of like how to learn how to do property. So I went on that. It was a free course and it was a free day, and a free day went to like your 2-year commitment. Paid about 30 grand.
You paid 30 grand for the
legacy 30
training?
grand. So 2 years of training. You could resit the course. It was 5 courses you could pick.
Right.
It was like service accommodation, rent to rent, lease options, HMOs, buy to let, and I think the other one was creative finance. If I remember right.
Well, here's the thing. I've actually heard a lot about Legacy, and they're not up and running no more, so I can openly say this. I've heard a lot of stuff about them. I've heard a lot of good stuff and a lot of bad stuff. But it seems to me that a lot of the people who have done really well have actually come through that sort of training.
Yeah.
So what was your like thoughts on the actual content that they provided?
No, I think from my personal opinion, there's certain stuff that was probably outdated in a textbook.
Yeah.
But it gives you the foundations.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer, you work on the information you've got and you just go out there and update your information.
Yeah, through experience.
Don't just blame the course of like, oh, I didn't get X results because the textbook was 10 years old, for example. But within that year of you doing something, or even like a month, I say just go out there and network with more networking events and then speak to your power team because they're going to have the most up-to-date information. And I think I'm a firm believer I'm only as good as my team.
Absolutely.
And I think if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. So, yeah, I hope that kind of answers the first question, where I came and where it's kind of gone to.
Yeah, it definitely does. But I've got a question on the back of that, because I know how we felt, and we spoke about this in the first podcast when we first paid for training. It was, I think,
I was with him at PWT.
No, before that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was one of the first trainings that I think it was the first that I had done.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So Ray done a training course before because we could only afford to send Ray on a training course before we'd even was in property. So she
Back
done one.
in 2018.
Yeah.
And it was at $1,500. And that felt like, to our family, like we'd just pissed away all of our savings.
Yeah.
How did you feel paying, I think you just said 30 grand?
You know what?
Because you was young.
I think I was what, 24, 25?
Ray, he's still
I
young.
wasn't 25.
No, but
like
I mean
24.
that age, to have that much money into...
So it was obviously in my business account from when I did a lot of consultancy stuff, and then I didn't consult anyone. I didn't have anyone to consult to at the time. I just went ahead and did it. But then afterwards, I was like, have I made the right decision? And I remember I sat on the sofa with my mum. I was like, oh, I've paid for this course. Here's the receipt. It's like, you know, the kind of the pink slip at the back. It's like, here's the receipt.
It's too late.
Being honest, mum was fine. I don't think she understood, if I'm honest. She was like, well, as long as you believe what you're doing is the right thing, then just go ahead of it. Like, she wasn't the type where it was like, oh, it's a scam, blah, 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 because she's never been through that kind of stuff. So she just kind of, I mean, I'm not asking her for the money, so that's probably the difference. So,
it was yours and not hers.
Yeah, and then, and I think after that experience, then I went on to another course, and again, it was 1 grand or whatever for 3 days, and then all of a sudden you kind of get hit with the big sales, and then, I don't know, it felt right at the time. I was like, oh, there's another, I think it was like 25 grand or something like that. And I was like, I'm gonna make this work. So I paid another 25 grand.
What, on top of the 30?
Yeah, 30 was for legacy, and then 25 was for, like, obviously, you know who, and then
Dun, dun, dun.
and then COVID hit, didn't it? And I felt like, what have I done? But I remember, like, even, when we did the bet, and they're like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And then I think we all said, let's all go 1 grand each.
That's actually a pretty funny story to tell,
Yeah.
right? So me and Sean, we'd done some training together, and on this training there was it was a 4 days worth or 3,
Yeah.
and on the final day there was like a big match where I can't say too much really, but we all had to put some money in. But the whole team, and Sean was on my team, there was like 4 or 5 of us, and we all had to put some money in that was actually gambling. It was betting, but betting on ourselves, which I think is a good concept. And like we all got into a circle, and was all like, we all had to say how much we was open to gambling. And I had Sean on my team, who was like already killing it in property.
I think it was me and Jason.
Jason was on the team.
Jason lives in Singapore.
Lives in
don't you?
Singapore. He's got a lot of money. And then there was me, who was broke. And and he's lot saying, let's put £1,000. And I'm thinking, I could lose £1,000, lads. But I didn't say that. I went with the flow. I was like, all right then. I think we ended up putting in 500.
No, it was £1,000.
It was £1,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever it was, I remember you telling me, because I was at PWT with you, but on a different team. And I remember you telling me that night how much you'd lost. And for me, because we had nothing then, that was like a holiday. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you have bet how much?
Yeah, but I bet on myself, and that's the big lesson. I bet on myself, and we lost.
That was a big lesson.
That was a big lesson.
Because we still lost.
The lesson is, if you hang around with these people who are very rich and wealthy, they're going to bet a lot of money. So dial it down a little bit.
But Sean, what you was just saying then, your mum,
Yeah.
has your family always been supportive about you getting into property and still supportive of that journey now, especially because of you worked in their takeaway shop, they've always been business owners themselves. Like, how did they feel about it?
I think, like, they're always, like, on the edge, but, like, they've never, like, given me negativity.
Yeah.
The most negative was my childhood, to be honest. But they were probably stressing for their businesses.
Yeah.
So they took it out on me, unfortunately. But I've got really good EQ, so I handled it well. So then I think going forward, they've never, like, questioned what I've done. They always, like, watch my lives and just, like, keep in touch with what I'm doing online. And obviously we still talk to each other.
Yeah.
They still don't understand what I'm doing, to be honest. But they said, "Oh, you look like you're doing all right, so it's fine. You've got a family, you're married, it's fine."
Yeah.
So,
You're
I think, they're just supportive. Yeah, if I'm honest.
When they say, you've just said they don't really know what you're doing, what is it you're doing for the viewers and the listeners that don't know? What strategy, what projects have you got going on? What's been done?
Pipeline.
Yeah, just tell us a bit about actual projects.
So, obviously, we've got our own accountancy practice, and we've probably got about 600 companies we manage for. Some probably like dormant, and then there's across about 350 clients. So one person has like multiple businesses. With the HMO side, I did a count. It's 168, but 125 I actually own. And then the rest are like lease options, rent to rent, and all that.
So when you say 125, you mean 125 rooms, units?
125 rooms that I own myself, and a couple of JVs. So with that in mind, we've also got projects that are ongoing. They don't count until you actually rent them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, by next year, I think we'll be about 350 rooms by next year.
Wow.
One of them just got planning yesterday.
I've
I've
seen
seen
that.
that.
Yeah, 44 rooms in one go.
Wow. And is that a ground up development?
Ground up. Yeah, so there's nothing on site right now. Only completed last month, and that was fully investor funded. No dev finance, no bridging.
Wow.
And he's going to obviously loan for the dev finance as well. I've got to literally teach him how to do it. But it's good. It saves me the fees and stuff like that. So yeah, we've got a 14 bed mid build phase, 14 bed literally finishing now, getting furnished. A 12 bed's already done and go for refinance. My above office is now 3 units. There's eight rooms in there, so that should be done by June. And then we're buying 2 new purchases. It's already an 18 bed, but there's loft space to convert another 6. So there's 6 on each floor. So there'll be like another 6 massive dormer extension,
Yeah.
put it that way. And then on top of that, it'd be like a 7-bed down the road. But it's all in close proximity. It's all in Derby. And purposes because we've got our own management team as well. So Molly manages, and we've recently, we're setting up a merger with a broker. So he's going to focus on selling properties and brokering the deals, and obviously supporting us with his admin staff to grow our lettings business.
Wow.
So yeah, by next 3 months, I'd say we'll probably start taking on more landlords. Might be clients that are already with us in accounts, because I've got a vision where if we're doing accounts already, we've done half the work.
Yeah.
All you need to do is get the letting statements, and 2 and 2 match together.
Well, we've definitely got a couple for you.
That's it.
Yeah, we've got a couple of rooms to fill.
So that's the thing, and I think it's just marketing.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in anything, so I rely on the team. So the guy that I've teamed up with, he's got a bit more time in his hands, so he's focused on getting the systems right, because I don't want to take... The whole point was using me as a guinea pig, and then once our systems perfect is right, now's the time to take on the extra landlords, and that's just another business in itself. There's a future goal that might be franchised, and I think the niche is accounting and lettings.
Yeah.
There's no one else out there doing it. So,
Agreed.
yeah, it's a clear vision. I think we'll use the same principles I've done with the accountancy, where we've got virtual assistants and also on-the-ground staff. The same rules can apply with the lettings, and then it frees up the on-the-ground staff's kind of headspace to be a bit more creative.
Yeah.
Focus on customer service.
Yeah.
Same with tenants. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. I don't look like I'm excited, but it is exciting because I'm working with the right people. I think that's key.
Yeah, and it seems like, I mean, just from this short conversation here, that the business side of things and growing that actually maybe excites you a little bit more than them purchasing the properties and developing them.
I'll be honest, I do get a bit underwhelmed when I buy a property.
Yeah, it gets like that.
But when you get that valuation report, I get proper... Like, when I had that 1.2 mil val for the 12-bed, I was on the cross-trader aboard it. I was like, fuck. I was just cross-trading, and I did like a video to like my business partners. I've not felt that excitement in a long time, because I've not done a refinance in a while, to be honest, other than that big one last year.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm about, right?
No, tell the listeners.
I don't think I know.
So I refinanced 10 of my houses.
Yep.
Yeah, and September last year, I got 888 grand drop into my account from refinancing the houses.
Sean, you know, you refinancing at that point, even though interest rates were so high, a lot of people would have said, why would you choose that time to refinance, pull money out, and then even though you're pulling a big chunk of money out, your mortgage is going to go up so much that your cash flow will reduce? What was your thoughts on doing that?
Got a good answer for that.
Go on then.
So if I'm making money at the end, bottom line, if it's like, let's say 100 grand, I've got to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
Why not take it out? It was at 6.7%. And a lot of these mortgages were like 4.5% during COVID when I refinanced them. I was seeing everyone with these refinances, like a 6-bed HMO was like 468 grand, and I got it refinanced in 2020 for like 300 grand. I was like, 160 grand here, 75%, 100 grand. So I just thought, well, if I can take this money out, obviously I'm not going to go and blow off and spend it on ridiculous things. I'm going to invest it. So I'm swapping it with the investor mindset, where if I'm paying the investor like 10%, why not just pay the bank 6%?
Yeah, amazing.
And I think that was my line of thinking. I'm not bothered about the cash flow, because it'll pay for itself eventually. If I don't take it out today, I'm going to take it out eventually one day anyways. And maybe one day that'll still be 6%. So I'm delaying the time. I won't get that back. And the opportunities these last 2 years you've seen already. I've been quite dormant for the last 2 years because we've been raising the kids. So I was like, right, now's my chance to pull that money out. I actually got one of my sites unencumbered as well. So I turned that into my bank instead. So I actually used that as leverage with one of my investors. And then he just literally gave me the cash for...
So you use that as security in terms of...
Use as security,
right,
yeah.
okay.
So it was sort of giving me that flexibility where, right, I've got the money out. The rent's still paying for the mortgage, which is the key thing, and the bills. I'm not using that cash flow other than to pay for a car here and there. But
Do G-Wagon.
I don't actually use that money for like lifestyle because I've got my own business.
Yeah.
And I've always said that to everyone that's come on with us. I said, don't obviously quit your job eventually, but you need that trading income because
Agreed.
there's going to be maintenance. There's going to be something silly that's happened, and worst case is if you're taking money out of the business, you've got to put it back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought with an investment mindset. So look, I'm going to use this money. I'm going to map it out the next 5, 10, 20 years, and let's grow this pot. I even ended up lending some money out to someone as well. So we get about 20% on that.
Wow.
20%.
Wow.
Really?
I might never get that 200 grand back. But, but I thought, you know what?
Don't put that out
I
there.
want to be an investor. Like, I just thought, you know what? I've always said to my investors, like, I want to be in your shoes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the goal.
You're chilling, literally. I mean, there's one guy I was messaging this morning. He gave me 100 grand once, and then he let me another 50. He's probably earned about 6 grand off me. And I said, "Oh, what holiday did you book on with the money?" And I said, "Oh yeah, we're looking to go there." So I said, "Well, that's such a lifestyle. Like,
Yeah.
you're getting paid. Like, you've not had to work your ass off. Obviously, you did work your ass off to get the money in the first
yeah.
place, but that's the goal, really. That's true passive income, not rentals. Rentals can be to an element, but
Yeah. And I believe that property can make you really wealthy. But in terms of cash rich, it takes a lot, and it's hard to pull it out because you can potentially pay a lot of tax.
Yep.
So like you mentioned there, I do think it's important that when you are in property and you become an investor, you have a bit of a business as well, a side business like a trading company. So for me and Ray, it's the mentoring. For some other people, it's sourcing. For some people, it's project management. But that can then be the money that funds your lifestyle, rather than trying to fund it all through property. Because especially if you're scaling, a lot of the rental income is going to be reinvested straight back into the company as well.
100%.
I'm just love listening to whenever you speak, Cheung. You are like a head of knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's mental that you're 32 years old.
Just a
You look
number,
older.
innit?
You look older.
No, he does not look older.
You know, mate, these last few years, I've seen all these grey hairs come out. My hair's fitting out. I'm in a midlife crisis already.
This YouTube video is sponsored by Just for Men. No, Cheung, a question that came in my head, because I think a lot of listeners will be thinking the same thing. You said the majority of your portfolio is in Derby.
Yep.
There has been talks recently of Article 4 coming to Derby. Yeah,
I'm glad.
That's
I'm
exactly
really
how we
glad.
feel.
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask, what are your thoughts on Article 4 coming to Derby, and what are your plans? Will you change your strategy in any way? What's
I'm
What's
just
your
going to make
plans?
sure I've got some cash reserve to buy out the old ones. So obviously our HMOs, they're quite newly built. There'll probably be some people that might be fed up or circumstances change. And recently I've come up with an opportunity to get 7, 8 houses in one go in Derby as well. And I guess just change circumstances. So I think when that comes in, there's going to be value added, but always think with an investor mindset and make sure you can add more value to pull your money out. And that's what we've done with the 18-bed deal, because they wanted a certain amount, and I just thought, well, if we get these other 6 units, up the rents commercially, I mean, we'll get it for 1.26 mil. It should be worth 1.8 even without doing anything to it. But we want to push it to 2.4, 2.5, and that's where the juicy bit is. So yeah, with that coming in, I think obviously each house naturally should go up by 100 grand. I think just leaning on like your Nottingham, your Leicester, Loughborough. I mean, it probably would have been better if I waited for my refinance, maybe in hindsight, but I would have done something with it in that time anyways, because it might take about a year and a half to 2 years to actually come in place.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because like we obviously operate in Nottingham and we've got Article 4 and it's really hard.
Yeah.
We've recently had a valuation in Nottingham, Article 4, where the yield was the same as Derby. And we're in Article 4, and like we had a chat with the valuer and stuff, and he said, well, we don't see why it's going to give you a better yield.
Do you think your rents are higher at Nottingham?
Yeah, absolutely.
But do you think now Derby's kind of matched it now? So the kind of misconception is you thought Nottingham would get a better yield, but that's because the rent was higher than Derby. But now we're kind of like matching in some sort of way.
I think there's truth to that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people in Derby, I think you get the same rents in Derby as Nottingham if the Derby's high spec. But Nottingham, we can have something that's room's not dressed, and it will still go for the top end you'd get in Derby.
Yeah.
So the rents are the same, but the product looks slightly different.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree with that actually. And but I see Article 4 becoming a big opportunity for the experienced investors like yourself.
Yep.
Because what I see it doing is shaking out a lot of the inexperienced investors who have gone to Derby because they've gone on a training course. The training course has said go to Derby. You need to buy a 6-bed for between 140 and 160. You're going to spend 150 to 170. It's going to refinance around 450. Everyone knows that formula. And I feel like Derby has been flooded with the inexperienced investors. So I feel like when Article 4 comes in, it's going to shake everyone up.
Yep.
Now, I've got a few locations where I think a lot of these inexperienced investors are going to go to. I think they're going to stay around the Midlands. I think a lot of them will go to Leicester because that's not saturated with Article 4.
Yeah.
And Leicester is still a good area with 2 universities. But I do see it being a very good opportunity for people like yourself who can approach the landlords who have got the older stock and also still potentially take the risk of getting a normal C3 to C4, but doing it the right way by putting planning permission and stuff like that, and just finding out like the density of the area and finding out where Derby will accept fresh applications. So it's just like Nottingham for us. It's been really well for us because we've not got too many investors that we're up against when we're looking at these houses. Because all of the inexperienced people, they do go to the easier locations, don't they?
I mean, I'll hold my hand up. I always avoided Article 4 because I thought, it's going to be so hard to get planning.
Yeah.
So then when you're first starting out, you don't want to put yourself in that kind of risk.
Agreed, yeah.
So, like you said, yeah, it will benefit the guys that know what they're doing. And equally, not only you get a better GDV, but you'll probably end up with better rents eventually because there'll be less stock available, I'd say, and then slowly, demand will always come in.
Yeah, as the economy grows, demand will always go up and stock will stay the same. In terms of like affecting house prices, I potentially don't see that happening for the next 5 years, for when rents do eventually start going up and the stock that's there is currently like, there's not been much more added. But it will definitely have a benefit. When Article 4 comes in, the next 5 years, like prices go through the roof. Like in Nottingham, we brought ours in 2012 and the prices have just skyrocketed. Everyone wants a HMO in Nottingham, Article 4. Yeah, it's like gold dust.
Yeah, but there's always another way around it as well. You could have technically 2 4-beds. That's still an 8-bed HMO.
Yeah.
If you do a title split, flats like the 44-bed, it's 12 3-beds and 2 4-beds. Technically, they're not licensable properties.
Yeah, but in Article 4, even though they're not licensable properties, anything between 3 and 6 beds will need the planning.
Yeah.
So, because obviously 3 people turns it into the C4, so that's when you would still have to apply for the planning.
Even if you don't need a license.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I meant was like the older stock, you might still have some landlords.
Yeah.
Oh,
with,
I see
like the
what you mean.
smaller HMOs, and then that's your entry in.
Yeah.
Because in any Article 4 area, you'd buy something that's existing, and if you can add value to these 3 and 4 beds because they're already existing, then you've probably got a better chance as long as it's not like one household in like the whole street.
Yeah.
So,
That's similar to what we did. Brought an existing 6-bed and convert in our Article 4 area, got the planning and then converted it to an 8-bed. So we made the difference there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's always opportunity. You just got to know where to look and not kind of feel, no, what I'm going to do now. Just keep thinking ahead. There's always someone on the other side of the fence. Right?
Yeah.
That's a better
Just
way
got to see
put
where
it.
you can add value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you
agreed.
continue in Derby only then, Sean, or will you look in other areas too now, do you think?
I'm quite happy in Derby. I don't feel like I've always said 1,000 units, and I'm less than 20% now. So I feel as though I've not
Long
made
way
much
to go.
progress.
Don't say it like
Until
that.
I hit that, I feel as though this is more than enough. And obviously, we've got young families, so I don't want to be venturing out to like Manchester or halfway up the country.
Or Nottingham.
Or Nottingham, yeah. I
Stay
think
away.
we know our boundaries. But I've always said to other partners, I said, if there's an expert in that area, they've already got an existing team, and let's say they just need funds or like the experience to get the refinance, I'm happy to jump on ship because then my time's not traveling up and down the country. It's just putting funds out and putting in different places.
Yeah.
So not limited to Derby, but I think it has to be a good partner you can work with.
Yeah. Okay.
Agreed.
I've got a good question for you, and this is actually a question for myself, and it's something I'm wondering, but I know the viewers will get value from it as well. So you've done a lot of the small 6-beds, 7 beds, 8 beds, and that's currently what me and Ray do. We've done some of the bigger stuff, so like blocks of flats and stuff like that, but it seems like the natural progression from doing these smaller HMOs and the sweet generous HMOs is then doing the ground up developments, going into the 20 beds, 22 beds, which I know you've done as well. So you've took that natural step of going bigger. How has that been? Because I have spoke to a few people now who have gone from the cookie cutter stuff and they can just keep replicating it, but it doesn't excite them, so they move on to the bigger stuff. And then when I talk to them, they're so stressed out.
It is stressful.
Yeah.
Like you said, a 20 bed, it's not even built yet. I've had like sitting it for like 3.5 years now. And that's the one that's unencumbered now. So, yeah, it can be stressful because, especially ground up, there's another layer to it. Like the problems we've had with that site is the foundations had to be piled. And then it turns out the drawings were wrong. Like it's not a straight line, it goes in slightly. So then when the guys were putting the piles on, I was like, it's going to go into the council's land. And then because of piling, we had party wall issues. So we basically knocked down the semi-detached house. And then we had some issues with a neighbour. That's been since sorted. And we thought we saw the light at the tunnel. And then the party wall surveyor said, oh, no, we've got to serve notice to the houses at the back because it's more than 6 metres away. I was like, why didn't you tell us at the start? So that's dragged out another 3 months. And fortunately, I'm not on that high interest on that. Otherwise, you cripple the deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think obviously, the bigger the deal, the bigger the problem.
Yeah.
But there's always a solution to a problem. You just got to have the right mindset and the right team behind you, and the right consultants that don't charge you a fortune to take you through it. Because unless you kind of get through that barrier, you'll always hit that roadblock, whether it's today, 5 years later, 10 years later. So I'd rather get it done now. Just get it done and dusted, and then I'll have a stronger mindset in a year's time.
Get all the scars and then
That's it, yeah.
get the experience.
Yeah. And I think that has been a true learning because it can be stressful, especially like if you've got a project on hold. Back then I had investors. Literally just sitting on investors' cash, and then if they want the money back, it's like, when am I going to pull this money out? And I'm sure every investor's been there where like, literally I've got this going through conveyancing, this refinance being held up. I'm trying to buy another block down the road. I've not got the money in the bank. I've got another offer accepted, but money's not in the bank. It's someone else's bank. So it's constantly that kind of stress that people don't really see.
But you're experienced enough to get through that. And so that, if you come across something like that where you need the cash, it's like the mindset is let's go and raise it. And you're good at raising cash and you've raised a lot. But for some people, that can cripple them, can't it? If they've got money tied up and the deal's going wrong and they've not got much on, so all of the problems are sort of like exaggerated on that one deal, and then the investor wants their money back, that can be a big problem for them. And that's when you see people going under. And that just comes from a lot of inexperience, doesn't it?
Yeah. So kind of back to your question, it can be stressful, but
worth it.
Yeah, after a year, you'll look back at it and you're like, I thought a 6 bed was stressful back in the day.
Yeah, that's true.
I was always on site trying to kind of micromanage the builder, getting frustrated because things were doing back to front, and then like only finding out that I was mugged off. I think we had like one extractor that was just going into the floor and not actually out the house.
Oh no!
But unless you've kind of been through it, you don't know. I look back now, I'm like, I've made some money on that deal because I poured a lot of money out and I was haggling over 60 grand refurb costs.
Is that how much it was?
Yeah, 10 grand a room, wasn't it, back in the day, en suites?
John, so just for people listening, 60 grand for, I'm guessing, 3 bed to 6
It was
bed
a 3 bed
conversion.
70 to a 6 bed. No loft conversion, no extension.
Back to brick.
Back to brick, yeah.
What would something like that cost you now?
Easy, like double, 120, 130. By the time you add your furniture, 150, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, I was looking on the laptop the other day, and our very first deal, it was only in 2020 when COVID came around. HMO conversion, massive 36 square meter extension, 6 bedrooms, back to brick refurb, 73,000 including VAT.
I think you get away with 100 grand.
Yeah.
That'll be like the back of fag pack of figure. 100 grand, that's fine.
Yeah. But that 73,000 that we had received, I was trying to get the builder down even more. I was looking at it thinking, £73,000. That same build now we're doing, and it's costing us around 160 plus.
Yeah.
And it's just the materials, labour, everything's just gone up so much. But the good thing is GDVs have followed and rents have followed, so it's all relative still, isn't it?
It's all relative.
Yeah.
It's still a bit pricey, but that's sort of not even a variable anymore. You just got to say it's a fixed cost, and then the deal has to stack itself. You've got to add more value through more rooms and higher rents and more studios as you do. We're pulling like some studios like £1,000 to £900, and then that's really helped the valuation. So if I can do more of them, it's not about getting the most rooms out of something. It's also the bigger rooms. And if everyone else is trying to cram 6 in a house to get the PD layout, you're probably going to end up with like 8 square meter rooms. I've seen one that's like 6.5 square meter room.
Good God.
I mean, it's all great. You'll get a valuation, but it won't rent.
No.
And then you won't rent. you're not going to make money anyways.
No,
So,
that big
and it'll be
void.
hard to sell back later on because no one's going to want to buy it.
No.
So I think the devil's in the details. Just got to make sure you're building the right asset for sustainable renting.
Yeah. Agreed.
Couldn't agree with you more there, Sean. Thank you for your long introduction. But
Was that still the introduction?
no, no. That's what you say. Your long introduction, but also telling us about your deals, what you've got going on. It's really interesting, and there was loads of golden nuggets in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was hoping we could move on to Q&A with Justin and Ray.
Yeah, go on.
So we have been given this mic. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it keeps flying around everywhere, and it won't. Do you think that's okay?
Yeah, that's all right.
So we've put on our Instagram, certain people have put in some questions that they would like you to answer. So we'll just go through them and go from there. And
Some
see,
value.
Yeah, give people some value. So one of the first questions that we was asked was by Liam. Liam is one of Justin's mentees. And he asked, how do you set up a property business in the most tax efficient way? He asked this not even knowing you're an accountant.
How do you set up? Well, everyone's got their own individual kind of circumstances. I don't know if Liam's like self-employed. Don't know if he's employed.
He sells bird food.
It's bird food.
Yeah, he does actually.
That's his job. I asked him his job. I said, "What do you do, Liam?" He said, "Oh, I sell bird food."
As an employee, or
Yeah, as an
Yeah.
employee, I
Okay,
think.
so as an employee. So let's say you're on a decent wage, probably not higher threshold yet, but anything else you add on top is going to add on to your tax return, and anything over 50,270, your dividend tax will kick in at about the 30% ranges. So I've always said limited company because you get to control what you pay yourself. 9 times out of 10, you're not paying yourself until 2 years later, anyways, because
And the rest.
yeah,
More than 2 years.
yeah, probably 2.5 years. Or you've claimed a lot of expenses and
Yeah.
you don't pay any tax at all. But the idea is to have it on the limited, and then later on you could structure it where you have your ABC share classifications. By the way, this is not financial advice. ABC, and then that C share classification, you could give that to your inheritance, like your kids in a trust. So that's kind of the end game. And also some people have like holding companies as well.
Yeah.
So I get 2 different kind of clients. You get one that doesn't really want to pay much accountancy fee because, I'm not earning that much. But then like you will be.
Yeah.
So you've got to take that out of your mind now and get the right setup because it will cost you more trying to sort it later on anyway. So yeah, I'd like myself, I've got a holding company. The holding company holds shares in different companies, and then I pay dividends across. Any investors pay income into, well, not income, they pay loans into the holdings, and then I just decide where to put the loans into. When the refinance comes into each of these companies, it'll just go back to the holdings and pay back to the investors, or if they renew, then we just kind of literally goes around the circles, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good information actually, because we do the holding structure, and I really like it, and especially because the holding company, which owns the shares of the rest of the companies, investor funds are always coming in, but there's always companies below it which is sending up funds to make sure you can pay your investors'
and you've sold
interest.
properties as well.
Yeah.
So you see in that other end, we're like, oh wow. Like imagine if you held that in your personal name.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
Yeah, that would be mental.
Especially now, the capital gains at $6,000 now.
Yeah.
It's only 12 grand. Let's say it's 100 grand. You're paying tax on the
A
difference.
lot.
aren't
And you
So-
can't escape that when it's in your personal name.
No,
can you?
you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. Unless you escape the country.
Yeah, Justin is trying to make us move to Dubai. So.
Oh, I love that place. Love that place. But yeah, she won't do it.
No, not just yet. Thank you, Sean. Another question. They didn't know you was coming on, and they have a lot of similarities with you and me, actually, for this one. So this guy is called William Smith. It is not the
It's
famous
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
It is Will Smith.
But he said he's a full-time teacher at the minute.
Yep.
He's got a couple of buy-to-lets. He's got a young daughter, but wanting to be able to like quit his job and go into property full-time.
Yep.
His concern, he's very sceptical of being able to do it with none of his own money. So he's seen all this online that you don't need your own money, you can invest in property. I mean, me and Justin didn't use any of our own money apart from to pay for our first training course,
Yep.
and still don't really now. What are your views on it? Any advice for him? Is it possible?
You mentoring this guy?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go on his mentoring. Anyways, I'd probably say, because I've been there, I remember raising, I mean, I've got probably like 150 grand on credit cards. like available, and you could use that money to pay. So it's still not your money; it's the bank's money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you agree? So that's your first step if you're struggling to find investors, and then it's just making sure you've got a plan in place to pay it back, because you've got to at least pay not just the minimum, but like pay a set amount every month to clear that off. And it might not even be a HMO BRR strategy. It could be a rent to SA, where you get your money in a bit quicker. Might not be all the funds that you put in right at the start, but normally you say about 6 to 9 months, I think,
Yeah.
you get your money back. We've got a cracking lease option deal. There's an 8-bed. We're paying 1,250. That's less than a mortgage if you work it out on the actual house value. There's deals out there. You just gotta. I get he's probably full time, busy, home duties with his daughter when he gets back. So it's just finding that time and maybe waking up earlier, or on the weekends you put some graft into it. I don't know if he's got other support to look after the daughter while he's out there grafting. It could be a team play if you're a couple. 2 people will obviously get there a lot quicker. So I think there's always a way. You just got to find that outcome that you want. Where do you see yourself in the next year, 5, 10, 20? You're familiar with it.
Yeah.
And I see myself, like when I was rewinding my goals back when I was writing down every day, my 1-year goal was just to get married. And then that was before I had kids. And then I started writing my goals where my kids were certain ages in each of these years. I probably had the kids a lot quicker than I did.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing, because everything else kind of excelled in the same kind of rate. But once you kind of put that vision in place, it drives you to be more creative. And it sounds like it's nothing financial, but once you kind of put yourself in that mindset, you'll find a way. You'll reach out to people that will help you along the way.
Yeah.
And if you really want to throw yourself in the deep end, get an auction purchase. There's no getting around that.
There's no turning back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that a lot. But it leads on to a question somebody else asked. That was Jim and Dan, also on your mentoring.
Yeah.
They have massive limiting beliefs around raising funds. How do you, and you have raised a hell of a lot of
How
money.
much have you raised?
I've lost count.
We've seen a statistic.
I've seen a statistic.
I think it's about 3 or 4 million now by now. It's got to be.
Yeah, I think it was around that.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming to start with, you had those limiting beliefs of why would anyone want to lend me money? We felt it ourselves. How do people get over that? Or how did you get over that?
So thinking back to it now, you've got to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to tell you, like, all these courses are like, yeah, it's fine, blag it, fake it till you make it. But you've got to know what you're talking about. Otherwise, that person's not going to build that confidence in you.
You'll lose trust.
Trust.
And then this is what sorry to interrupt, but this is what I say to my mentees all the time: is if you've got hot leads, if you've got people who you know have got cash and there's a big chance they're going to invest, don't approach them yet until you know what you're talking about. Because if you approach a hot lead and you say the wrong thing, you lose that trust and credibility. It might not be a year or two of them seeing you do stuff for them to actually invest again. So if you've got all of these hot leads, make sure you get a lot of help with like structuring an offer and a proposal, and actually know what you're doing before you just approach someone and say, "Can I borrow some cash?"
And I guess like it's how do you get that hot lead in the first place?
Yeah.
So you go back to that, just literally go to your phone book, find out 10 random people. If you think back to the last, I mean, there's a reason why I've been in your phone book. It might be some networking event, might be someone your old colleague, and then it's just reaching out. And if you think of a key moment that you can connect with, like I was walking to school with this one kid one day. I so randomly bumped into him in one of our service offices in Birmingham once. I was like, there's a reason why I met this guy.
Yeah.
So then we got talking and kind of told him what I was doing at the time. I said, look, I'm just kind of doing a bit of property. Went to a viewing the other day, kind of showed him how excited I was. Because that stuff you'll be comfortable talking about because you know the ins and outs, or maybe you're getting into it. And then that's just a seed, right? So then about 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the line, you go back to it. I don't particularly have a system of who I've spoken to. I just kind of click and I was like, who did I speak to the last 3, 4 months when I need the cash? And then I was like, all right, I need to reach out to da-da-da-da-da. So it's sort of connecting to people in a more human way, attaching experience to it that you can both connect with. And then I guess people just kind of buy into it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel has helped me, because every investor I've been with, I've had people even watch me on social media Never met him in my life, and then met him once and said, "Oh, I've got 400 grand in my SAS pension," and I thought this guy was like kind of a show off. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I've got a few HMOs." So I actually ignored him for like 3 months. Probably I was busy. I didn't. I did ignore him because I thought he was boasting. But then, yeah, it clicked. I was like, wait, he's actually reaching out for a reason. And as soon as I showed him around the projects, because it was a bit further along where I had stuff to show. And if you don't, can you not piggyback off someone that's already doing something? And say, look, I'm mentored by so and so. This is what they're doing. I'm looking to replicate the same. Obviously, they started from nothing to something, and people will buy into it. It might not be everyone, but there's going to be someone out there that believes in your ideas.
Yeah.
And unless you're confident about it, it's never going to come.
No.
And it does get easier. I'll say it gets easier once you're in it because you've got something to show.
Yeah. And you can prove what you're up to, prove your credibility, and then you can start pulling in like random people who, I don't know, come into your network.
Yeah.
But like, advice for this person is, because you've not got that credibility already, for an investor to invest, they've got to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
So
what are you doing to actually better yourself and actually get the knowledge to do what you're saying you're going to do?
Yeah. But for someone in his position, he's not going to get anyone who invests in him who is just a random person, because there's no credibility or reputation there. So you have to look at your close proximity of your network and see who has that know, like, and trust, and then approach them with the right offer.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people we've spoken to, they're saying, oh, I need to get a deal pack together. I need to show the investor all the numbers. I need to do this. I need to do that, which is super important for some investors. But there are plenty of investors out there, and I'm sure that you've dealt with them as well, Sean, that just invest in you as a person and haven't even asked about a particular deal. I'd say there's been 2 investors that we've ever shown a deal pack to. The rest,
They don't even know what money
where
deal's
it's going or anything. They're investing smaller amounts,
Yeah.
so it's your 10, 20 grands, where they're just investing in us as people because they trust us. So I think that's a way to get over it, is you haven't got to know all of the numbers necessarily and show them all that, because a lot of people just invest in you too.
Yeah.
It's like analysis paralysis. You're trying to get it perfect, but they're probably not going to understand half of it.
Exactly.
So they buy into you. You've got to put that personal touch to it. Tell him why you're doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
It's not always about cash flow. He's not going to care if you're going to get 10 grand a month from it.
No.
He might care, obviously, if he gets 10 grand for himself for interest, but that's got to be a hefty lot. But that's why I said focus on your vision first, because if you know where you're going, that will drive you anyways, and then it helps people that buy into you. I mean, you see these big companies, they always have a mission, don't they?
Yeah. Mission statement always.
Exactly, and I think it's the same principles. The foundations are there. You just got to tailor it to you, as personal branding.
Definitely.
But I've seen some people doing it really wrong. Where I see a post and people are saying, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Who wants to help me? This is going to allow me to create this much cash flow and buy this car of my dreams." And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, that's not good.
It's not good. No. Yeah, I think you said it quite right the other day. It's contribution as well.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not a monetary contribution, it's your time as well. If you are getting passive income, everything's all set up, systems all there. You can have all the time in the world. What are you going to do at that time? And it doesn't have to be like giving money away. It could be like going to like Christmas, when they do the you help out with like dishing out food, their food banks and stuff like that. So it could be that, and if that drives you, then great. If you do want to do a charity, do a charity. So I think attaching contribution is key, because it gives you a reason to do what you're doing.
Yeah, it's
and
not
also
just
family
yourself.
contribution as well. If you put your time in your family, that's still a contribution.
Yeah.
Because you never get that back.
No.
My kids are. I did it on post yesterday, so I'll walk into nursery now. 5 years later, they'll be at school, and then like 10 years later, they'll be going to like secondary school. So they're like,
And 5 years after that, they'll be married.
well, maybe.
Bit young.
Yeah. So yeah, time is the only thing you can't argue with, and you just got to do the right thing at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just on from that, because I think it sort of resonates with that. Stefano asked, what do you do to stay motivated and consistent? Which I think might be a lot to do with your family. But what is it you do to keep that motivation up?
So if I'm honest, last 2 years I did fall off a bit because I didn't have a good routine. It was a bit random with the kids, like they weren't at nursery yet, or one of them was at nursery, one was getting ill. So then it's trying to juggle your business while you're trying to like keep the fort at home. Like we're not like obviously bickering. Well, there's probably little stuff that we bicker about, but like it goes on in every family household. So it was only like kind of now where I said, look, they're in a good routine. I need to get myself in a good routine. So I went on Freedom Warriors, as you know, and then like Sam coaches me. I've been back on the morning kind of routines where you do your goals, tasks for the day, and then review at the end of the day and weekly. And also painting that. Because I stopped writing my goals, if I'm honest, for the last year and a half, I'd say. Like the 2010, it was always there. I was visualizing it, but I wasn't physically writing, and I found it's made a massive difference.
Yeah, that's so surprising that you fell off doing that. I thought you were still doing it.
But the weird thing is, when I was writing my goals before, they didn't excite me because my first goal before was to get married, have kids, and move into our dream family home. And once you got it, you're kind of like, what's next?
Yeah.
So I needed that kind of kick.
Needed that excitement because that is super exciting.
Yeah.
So then what's going to top that?
Exactly, yeah. So once I built that vision again, I was like, right, okay, how am I going to attain that goal again? I was writing it this morning, like 20 years later, I envisioned being in like a Maldives sea villa as a family retreat. And then I write down portfolio worth and like what we're getting every month and what we're doing and the experience, how it feels, how it smells, how it breathes and stuff like that. So getting that kind of processing again drives me.
Gets the excitement back, gets the flame back.
And I've been inspired by you guys as well with your extension. So we're going to plan our extension. We've got the drawings out, so we're going to extend. And that's part of my 1 year goal, that I will be spending a joint birthday with Joey and Kaylee because they're like July and August, and then we'll have a barbecue, bifolds, stuff like that. So like it's painting that vision, and that's kind of like the short term, but it's also the long term that we need to aim for.
Nice.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and it's funny what you said about like you hit this, you set this goal, you got to the goal, and you was a bit underwhelmed. I feel like so many people, and myself included, we have this big goal, and we attach happiness to it. And I'm so guilty with it myself, and I think to myself, when I reach this much per month, I'll be happy. But then you get there, and it's like,
No,
there was no happiness there. So then it's like, what's next? And then what's next? And it's continuing to strive to be happy. So it's so important, like you said, to just be happy on the journey that you're on and find happiness within yourself and not attach it to a goal and say, when I get there, that's when I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And obviously it seems like that's what your family's brought you as well, which is good.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
Do you want to pick it?
Yeah.
Do you want to look on this or you got your own?
No, I've got my own.
If it's not as a good question like I've got, then I'll have to do another one. Oh, no, that's after.
Oh, no, then you pick one.
Okay.
How many questions did you get?
A lot.
Did you?
I'm gonna
And they didn't know the guest either. They didn't know the guest.
Right, I've got two, and you can pick which one you want to answer. So someone asked for what's the best deal you've ever done and why, but someone also asked what's your worst deal ever done and why.
Okay, I like that.
So you can pick which one you want to answer.
I'll go for both of them if you want.
Okay, go on then.
So I think the best deal I've done so far is still the one that I'm doing right now. Is my office. So fast forward, go backwards, not fast forward. October 2021, I went to buy like a dessert as a takeaway, and right opposite was the office, Dufford Road. And there was a cardboard sign with a mobile number on there. I was like, and there was a for sale sign with David Brown. So I was like, I'll message your number. I said, I'm interested to buy the building. I didn't know it was the whole building at that point because it was dark. All I saw was like a kind of a old bathroom shop and flats above it. And then she got back to me in the night, and then we chatted, and she wanted to sell the whole block. So it's a corner plot. We had 11 parking spaces at the back. There was a salon and a barber's, and then upstairs was just 3 flats. And we agreed 550 at the time, 550 grand. I wanted to make sure I've got security, so I said I'll sign a lease, and it kind of gave a reassurance that I was moving on the process. So we signed a lease for the accounts office to move there. So we moved from Burley House to there. And I spent about 50 grand just doing that place up. It was an old bathroom shop that sold, like, your bathrooms.
Surprise, surprise.
And funny enough, before we decided on the office, we were going to turn that into a bubble tea coffee shop because we didn't know we were having Jamie at the time. But then that changed because we knew Jane was coming, so Joey wouldn't be able to devote her time there. And then my sister-in-law does like bridal shop, like she has a bridal shop, and then said, oh, maybe we can get some dresses and sell from there. Nice kind of shop front.
Yeah.
And then you're like, screw it, I need more office space. So that was the quickest, painless refurb because it's all white, desks in, we're ready to go. And we're starting to kind of come out of that COVID working from home. I said, look, I want people back in the office in a hybrid manner. So yeah, and then, what are we, 2024 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, she got cold feet and said, I want 600 grand now. I was like, we agreed 550. I know it was a handshake. I mean, foolishly, I should have done an exclusive to whatever. But then I said, like, it's not worth 600. And then it all went quiet. I've signed a 5-year lease with a landlady I don't like.
And spent a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, spent a lot of money. But yeah, literally, she put it in the auction without telling me. Said, when it went in the auction, everyone was like, messaging, like, sure, this isn't your place. Because I've already put my YouTube and everything. So I felt a bit embarrassed. It is my place.
You got rug pulled.
Yeah, and then I messaged her out of courtesy. I said, look, I'm gonna register for the auction. She kind of blanked me. And then I went at the auction for 500 grand.
Oh, I was just about to say, please say it was less than 550.
I think I told you, I was in a hot tub when I did it as well.
Oh, I can remember seeing the picture.
Yeah, so the hot tub was just bidding. And then I had Sam, who knew the guy at the auctions, and said, oh yeah, the reserve's at 500.
Oh no.
So then kept it at 500. No one outbidded me. I was waiting for that countdown to go down, and it was like, great, you won it. I didn't have the money in the bank. That's probably the worst bit. I had enough to pay for the deposit.
So you exchanged on...
Exchanged with like your normal 30-day completion. And even 2 weeks before completion, I still had the money in the bank. But an investor pulled through, gave me 200 grand, and that was enough to... we had so got 370 grand bridge, and then the rest was all like investor funded. There's already a salon on the Barbers that's paying rent already on leases, and then we're now converting the 3 flats. So it's 2 3 beds and 1 studio. So 1 studio, we've managed to make that into 1-bed flat now. And then the 2 3 beds, one's a 4 ensuite HMO, one's a 3 ensuite HMO. So we've
Wow, they must have been big flats.
They're big flats.
Yeah.
Like even with the ensuite partition, these are big ensuites, about 3 square meter ensuites. I've still got a 12 square meter room.
Wow.
So these rooms are like 15 to 16 square meters. And we managed to shift the kitchen and make that into an ensuite room. And then we made like a small kind of kitchen for professionals because they don't always use the communal area.
No,
Whereas
agreed.
the 3 ensuite one's got a bigger lounge, and that could be your students. So, I think that's going to be a top deal because I think that will revalue around top end 1.5 million. I'm going to set that, but
Wow.
you know the value is going to bring it.
Oh,
down a
of
bit.
course. Yeah, of course.
But if it gets about 1.2, I'll pull out about 600 grand. I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you wanted to pay 550. She put it at auction. She wanted to get 600 out of you, and you paid 500. What's this woman's first name?
What's her name? Shirley.
Shirley, if you're watching, shame on you.
This
Shame
is one
on-
expensive lesson for you, Shirley.
Shame on you. You are £50,000 down for trying to do bad business. That's not what you do.
Yeah.
Did you hear from her after?
Oh, you know what? I didn't even tell you the bad. So obviously I was in an auction, so I'm chasing for like the bridge going through, the valuation need to be booked in. The value decided to go on holiday. This was August last year. So then I couldn't get through to her. The valuers couldn't get through to her. She was obviously playing hardball.
Yeah.
So then
She was probably crying.
every week she comes out to pull the bins out, and I caught her like as she was pulling the bin.
Ran
And
into her.
I walked her.
You weren't hiding in the bin, was you? And jumped out.
Oh, she kind of like blanked me, started walking around, and then like, I was like, oh yeah, the value. So she squared up to me. She's like, oh, I told you not to get this deal. You better have the money. You know you got 30 days. I was like, yeah, I know, obviously. Otherwise I'm going to lose 50 grand, right? So plus the auction fees. And it took a while to get the valuer to actually get a date in. And he still went over. Like, I had to complete probably the end of August, and we were 2 weeks over. So naturally, you had the notice to complete.
Yeah.
So I did go into that. But my mindset with that is use that as a comfort blanket because you're going to pay the bridging company X% interest.
Yeah.
I might as well pay the vendors some extra. It was,
Yeah.
I think it was like
For
5%
that 2
interest.
weeks.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we needed to buy that more time to get the values report. Actually valued at 564 grand. So to rub it in a bit more. So I actually put less deposit than I need to.
But it's hard to stay professional sometimes, especially when you see her. You must
Yeah.
have just wanted to say Shirley. That's what you get. That is what you get. I mean, we're professional, of course, we're property investors, right? But it's like it's so hard sometimes to, especially when someone does bad business and then they treat you like you done bad business. That's not good.
Yeah. So.
Lesson learnt for sure.
And then you know what? We completed on Jamie's first birthday.
Oh,
amazing.
15th of September. So I'll always remember that. And obviously, our office is based there. It's home for us technically. So to maximise that deal and kind of build that vision. I think that's my best deal ever. Today.
Amazing. Oh, thanks for sharing that, Sean.
What's your worst deal?
You know,
Hopefully it don't involve Shirley.
No, not worst deal. You know what? I think there's a couple worst deals.
Pick one.
One actually. So one's not actually far from your house. Had so many like bad tenants and not even bad. Yeah, had bad tenants. Had bad tenants from other houses, and then like at one point we had no tenants in that house because it was probably during that time where Derby wasn't really there yet. And I was actually thinking, it's the only one that I've bought in that area. Could it be that? So you play all these scenarios like why it didn't go right, and main thing is me really. I picked it in the first place, but now it's actually one of our easiest to run houses.
Really?
So things have changed. So yeah, that was bad, obviously because of the area that I was in. But I think since then, the new Normanton area is kind of like built up.
DE23.
DE23, yeah. In back of mine, I was DE22, DE1, and I've always
DE24 sometimes.
Yeah, so that was my only DE23 house. And then like obviously we've got this hotel, which you know about.
I didn't think you was going to mention that, but
no, I'll mention it because I'll be honest, like it was a site where I probably was at my highest confidence because I got like a 250 grand refinance back, so I thought I could take over the world. And then at the time, it was at the auction, and then Sam, my business partner, was in with the vendor direct. So then at the auction, my builder was going for it, and I actually sent money for the deposit twice to SDL. Secured it, didn't secure it because Sam was talking to the other guy direct. So then I said to them both, I said, whoever gets it, I'll fund it. And then we had big dreams before. We'll get like 70 flats in it. Went with the wrong architect. Went with the wrong kind of expertise because we didn't have a clue what we're doing. I'll be honest. I've said that to Sam as well. So we're incompetent ourselves, and we've taken this massive deal. And 3 years on now, we're finally at the stage where we've sort of packaged and sold it, but it's still up in the air because we've still got some deferred consideration that we're like talking about. But that owes us like, I mean, let's just round figure between us. Sam's about nearly £1 million. So that's just tied up.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, so there is a way to get it, but it's either you build the damn thing or you get some guy to pay what you need to get out and get the money out.
What did you buy it for?
745.
And was the problem that you purchased it hoping you'd get planning and you didn't get planning?
Purchased it with a high bridge.
Right, okay.
At the time, I think that was like 1.5% a month. 18% a year.
So it was literally just the bridge for the building, nothing to do with the development, because of course at this point you didn't have like build costs.
We were obviously putting money in for like architect fees.
Yeah.
I mean the planning fee alone, because it's a fee per flat. Yeah.
I've always wondered why people pay a lot on planning fees, and I'm looking thinking
we
15
paid
grand.
25 grand for planning.
Holy shit.
That's not even including the architect's fees.
It's a fee per flat.
Yeah, fee per flat. £468 plus whatever flats. And we didn't even get the 70 flats in the end. So the good thing, I think they said they would get rid of it. The kind of go past go again, the get free planning the second time round. So we managed to do that, and then we did get the planning in the end after like going through appeal. Wait, did it get rejected? Yeah, it got rejected and we appealed. And then when we appealed, we actually got the flats in the end with a different architect, with a better design build. Because the first, I look back at it and I was like, you know what, I should have trusted my gut feeling because this looks fucking ugly. And then like, I didn't want to say it because I thought I'd hurt his feelings.
That's like when someone has a kid and they think it's the best kid looking in the world, and you're looking at the kid like, what's that?
And then like as soon as like Matthew Montague did their designs and it's in 2 blocks, I was like, you know what, this is a good looking building. And even didn't get through planning. You know what I found out? So because we didn't turn up to the appeal, because I thought the architect would turn up to the...
Was this the committee?
The committee, sorry. Yeah, so we didn't turn to the committee, and we thought the architect foolishly would have gone.
Oh, and they didn't.
because they didn't show up, they're probably you cocky bastard.
Yeah,
We're
no one
just gonna,
cares.
like,
Yeah.
Oh,
right,
sure.
so I only found out afterwards. So now in hindsight, I've learned go to the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done a few.
So yeah, that's probably the worst deal because technically his money's still tied up and it's $500,000 of cash that I could do with putting into another deal by now. And I think that's the opportunity cost, and you're never going to have every good deal. I think.
Agreed.
And I'm open and honest, so I'm just telling the listeners.
Yeah.
It's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ups and downs in
Yeah, that's the
property,
real
there
side of
is.
it.
Yeah, the real side of it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean, for Q&A with Justin and Ray.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I got some good golden nuggets out of you there.
Yeah. Justin's decided each guest he wants to ask one particular question to.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to answer it as well, although I'm not sure what mine's going to be yet. So do you
Yeah,
want
I'm
to-
not, but I'll ask Sean first.
Yeah.
So, what gives you the property ick? Now, what I mean ick is, what's another word for ick?
That what cringes you out.
So what cringes you out where you go, oh, look at that? Like, it could be anything on social media, anything people are doing that you think, I won't do that, or is there anything?
One of mine's come to mind, so I could give you a bit of inspiration.
Go on.
What gives me the property ick is when Justin goes, yeah, at the start of every video.
That gives you the ick?
It really cringes me out.
But
Yeah.
that's your hook.
That's the trademark. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
trademark.
it won't. Women out there will understand that anything their husband or partner does will give them the ick, but it won't. Other people won't feel that way.
Did you do it at your wedding?
Did I?
Probably because he thought the day was all about him. Start of his vows. Yeah.
No, yeah, I think I did. It's on recording. Do you take Ray to be your lawfully wedded wife? Yes. Okay, so that gives you the ick. That's news because I never knew that. So I'm gonna have to start rethinking whether to do it or not. That's Ray's ick. My ick is Ray. No, it's not Ray. My ick is when like I see on. No, here's my ick actually. When you like at property events and stuff, and like you spend like 3 days dancing around and clapping and high fiving the person next to you, saying, "I'm a millionaire." Honestly, like I'll be honest, right?
You have been involved in that.
I've been
many
there,
times,
done
and
that,
I look at
enjoyed
you
it at
and
the
you're
time.
loving life.
Yeah, I enjoyed it at the time. I was upstage like slut dropping and everything, and
Twerking.
yeah, and I loved it at the time, right? But I look back and I just think to myself, oh, what was I doing? And then I see other people still doing it, and it gives me the ick. So that's mine.
I'll flip this around. I give myself the ick. You know, on Facebook when it comes up with what you did like 5-6 years
Oh
ago,
yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
I'm there like deleting. I'm seeing comments from like 2010. I was like, oh, CBA will work. So they're like, I look back at that stuff and I'm like, ugh. But like property wise, I think like equally it gives me the ick when you see people kind of fake it till you make it. But I've been there, so like I
Yeah.
can't be so judgmental
Yeah.
because
I'm exactly like that.
I think as long as you acknowledge, you put yourself out there, and it shapes you to be the person you are now, just acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And I, you know what? Another thing is that does give me massive ick in accounts as well. Just people being too analytical. It's like, oh, if this deal doesn't go right, there's gonna be like 10 grand left in. By then, I would have raised 10 grand by the time you thought about it.
Yeah.
And no names mentioned, but like, I was meant to go in this JV partnership, and 2 months later, like, because the deal was, I'll fund the deal, pay the deposits, and stamp, whatever. You guys sort the architect fees and little bits and bobs, broker fee. You're talking about 2.5 grand, 3 grand. And then they're like, 2 months later, I've not raised the finance for 2.5 grand. I was like,
What?
but you told me last month you've got a credit card. You told me last month you've got an investor for like 10, 20 grand. I was like, oh no, you wanted 15%. I was like, you know how much bridging costs?
15% on £2,000.
No, like 10 grand, for
Oh,
example.
right,
yeah.
okay,
And then,
yeah.
but you could have took that and paid for the architect fees. You wouldn't have lost 2 months already. We could have done a deal by now. Could have got planning and whatever. And then, you know what? That gave me a massive hit because maybe my financial brain was kicking. I was like, why have you gone through analysis paralysis? And you've actually, I could have got another deal out of this.
I'm out of this. You gave me the ick.
Yeah, and then, you know what, this is just a disaster in the making. And you know what? I for well believe the guy's going to grow because he'll see it as a lesson.
Yeah.
And as long as he sees it in that way where, like, oh, because of that, that's lost me. Actually, you know what, Sam Riano, like
I thought you just said the person's name then. I was
that's a
thinking,
different guy. Yeah, Sam Riano. I put the GDV of like the 12 bed that we got, and he was going for that deal as well.
Oh,
And
really?
He was just like, "You've just taught me a 1.2 million pound lesson,"
Oh.
because he was being too analytical with the numbers.
Yeah.
He didn't think the GDV would be this or the cost would be this, and then sometimes you got to just get the deal over the line.
Got to do it.
Yeah, it's not going to get refinanced a year later. By then, rents have probably gone up at least 10%.
Yep.
And then I remember seeing you do your prop valves. We've got, I mean, that prop valve for that property was 900 grand. It ended up being 1.2 million. So like,
prop valve's always less.
Yeah.
So for anyone who don't know what a prop val is, it's a proposed valuation that you get before.
what it means. Proposed.
Did you not know that?
I've been calling it a
prop
pre-val.
valve was,
So.
I thought prop valve was property valuation in short.
Oh,
so I was just kind of like,
I'm teaching Sean something here. Wait, I hope I'm right, but a proposed valuation is when a bridging lender will send out a valuer who you pick, and they're going to value the house based on what you're purchasing it for on day one. So the lender knows that they're borrowing you the money for it and it's worth what you're paying for it. But then the proposed valuation is what they're proposing it will be worth on the back end when it comes to refinancing. So I think it makes sense to be called a proposed valuation.
I always thought it was property.
Property valuation? I might be wrong.
And then I was like, why are you calling it a property valuation? Evaluation? It's still a valuation.
Yeah, why'd you have to specifically say what it's for?
Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, a proposed val. So yeah, you can always get a proposed valuation before you even exchange and complete, so you know what it's going to be worth when you exit. But it's always less than the actual end valuation when you exit with your mortgage, because when a valuer comes out, although you can tell them what you're going to achieve for the rooms and what they're going to be like, it's hard for them to visualize it and see what we can see.
Yeah.
So they're always going to downplay it a little bit and also protect the bank and the bridging lender. So then when they come out on the back end and you got a really nice product, you've turned it into like a really nice rooms, you're getting a lot of rent, then obviously the evidence is there that it's actually worth a lot more. So that's going on my CV. Taught Sean something new.
6 years after the property valuation. And then that was giving me an ick as well. I was like, oh, I've got a prop file for this. I was like, what do you mean prop file? It's a valuation. It's a GDV. I'm not looking up to.
So Sean was struggling to find an ick, and we've got like 7 or 8.
I know,
there.
you just gave a
The
load
ick was
to
in
it.
myself.
What we like to finish off with, Sean, is 2 things. So the last thing we'll do very, very shortly, but we like to finish on something a little bit more lighthearted.
Yeah.
So on our first ever podcast, it was the funniest thing we'd found in a property or on site. So I won't tell our stories again, but just to give you a bit of context, I found a bag of human shit that a tenant had left under the bed in a pretty little thing bag.
And it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't little.
Justin found a gag ball of a tenant's and laid down with it in his mouth.
I put it in my mouth and sent Ray a sofa. So I wasn't sure whether I should have shared that story, because I don't know whether like I can get done somehow.
Who's going to turn up? The police?
No, but I just don't think it. I mean, I don't think it looks the best, does it? I had a gag ball
we've
in.
said it now. So,
Yeah.
have you or maybe your letting agents found anything funny or?
I must say, it's kind of disgusting. Shit related as well.
Oh God!
So a tenant got a bit disgruntled. And then he was in room 1. There's room 2 next door. For some reason, so he was the last person to move out, and room 2 was unlocked for whatever reason. He was a bit pissed off because he wouldn't move out. We started doing a bit of a rip out in like the other room, so it wasn't constructive to get him to move out. He just had a notice period, so he decided to go into room 2, and there's a trail of shit that he kind of squatted on the sofa. And I swear to God, it was like a curly one. I didn't know whether to laugh or like be disgusted, but like it's the fact that like it was on the sofa, but there was a trail like going to the actual ensuite itself. So I don't know what round was it. Was it? Did he decide to go to the toilet and didn't make it?
Yeah, that must have been it.
Or
I'm
was
pretty
he
sure
left?
I'm pretty sure he did it on the sofa and then tried to go to the ensuite to wash his hands.
Yeah, but he created a Mr. Whippy like swirling one, didn't he?
It's like Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
bread.
that's artwork.
I just imagine
That's
like,
so hard to do. I think that beats our
that's
stories. To be fair.
disgusting.
That beats the Pretty Little Thing shit.
Yeah, and like I didn't realise because there was obviously a massive stench in the house. I thought it was on the floorboards, but the whole time it was just obviously on the sofa. That needs to be chucked anyways.
Yeah, of course.
Thank God.
I'd have framed
this
it.
is only up the road from my office, and then I actually put some. I was like, Joey, I can't wait for the cleaners. Can you give me some marigolds? I'll clean it up myself. I'll chuck
Oh.
it.
You
So
picked the shit
Yeah,
up?
I put the marigolds on. I scooped it, chucked it outside.
Scooped it like an
Really?
ice
She
cream.
scooped it. Yeah, I just got it done because it was one of those things. The back of my head is only up the road. I was like, what, just get it done. And then
do it.
also, I didn't feel comfortable that my trades are gonna go in. The house stinking of shit.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
not
felt
nice.
bad myself.
Yeah. Why should they clean up shit?
So I said like, let's get it sorted.
So I like that. Doing whatever it takes.
Yeah, and also my cleaner. I showed a picture of the cleaner, and she was like, "That's a biohazard." So as soon as she said that, you're not tiny. It's fine. I'll sort it.
Yeah.
What was the texture like?
Oh no, we're not going there. We're not. Sean, don't answer. Don't answer. I'm going to stop you both right there.
I'll
This
tell you
is
later.
not the type of podcast. We would like you to join us, Sean, with a little shot to finish off.
Yeah.
You know, me and Justin love how.
Our party days are over. Like us property investors, we stopped partying. We stopped taking sambuca shots. So instead, to celebrate something, we take a turmeric shot.
A little too
So that's yours. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a cheers. And yeah, I always have to open raise.
You're gonna get sponsored by Starbucks.
Yeah, hopefully
After, like, the
Starbucks.
100th
Or
episode.
just for
Yeah,
men.
Or Pretty Little Thing.
Yeah, well, brilliant. Just a whipper.
Yeah.
Right, so, but we need to cheers to something. So, Sean, you're going to tell us what we're going to cheers to.
What we're gonna cheers to? I think cheers to many more podcasts. to
Yes.
come. I hope I return back on the show at
Yes.
some point. And all the successes to you guys and to all of us really to just keep pushing and pushing.
Thank you
Do
very
it
much.
for the right reasons, I think.
Absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Cheers.
Thank you, Sean.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
You're actually gonna take one go.
I can't.
Oh, the ginger.
Yeah, it don't taste the best, does it?
I like it.
This one's turmeric. It's not ginger. Ginger's harsher.
You
I like
we
these.
went away once, and then every morning they'll do a shot for us, and it was like this. Like it was literally like, oh, today's shot is mint. It wasn't like actually alcohol shot. It was like the fruit kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
mojito, mint or whatever. And then we were quite inspired by that. I was like, oh, imagine like every day you go up, have your breakfast, and then that's your shot, and you have like a nice view of the beach and stuff. So yeah,
Nice.
Lovely.
Little detox.
that's it.
Final thing is we always like to do peak and pit of the week. We always do this with our family, nieces and nephews. So best thing and worst thing of your week so far. Give you time, Sean, to think. Justin, peak and pit of the week.
Ooh, good question. So my pit is coming in. I enjoy doing these podcasts. I enjoy
Your pit?
peak. Sorry, peak. So the best bit is
Charming.
no,
Sean's like,
no.
"Fuck
That's
this,
my
I'm never
peak.
coming
My
back."
Enough,
peak.
guys.
No, my peak is coming here, having a good chat with Sean. It's we don't meet up too often, but we do make some time every now and then to meet up and connect again. So it's always a good time and a good laugh when we do. So that's my peak. And my pit was being ill. Ray gave me a bit of an illness, and I've not felt too well. But I mean, I'm good today, so nothing's contagious. There's nothing on the mic. Yeah, the previous days I've not felt too well, so that's my pit.
Well, mine was going to be exactly the same as that, but the rules are you can't have the same as other people. So I will say my peak has been you coming on this podcast, Sean.
That's the same.
No, but I haven't finished. Is listening specifically to your story. It's always so inspirational. We say it all the time. Love spending time with you. And yeah, that's definitely been my peak so far.
Exactly the same as what I said.
My pit is got a cough still. That's definitely my pit.
You guys have done well. You've held it in for the whole
I
podcast.
know. I've been trying to move the mic when I needed to cough. But I don't think I've really had a pit. Oh, my pit. You mentioned our extension at our own home. The window was meant to go in today. It's been delayed slightly, so hopefully that will still go in this week. So yeah, I'd say that's my pit. What about you, Sean? Peak and pit.
So my peak has been yesterday. Got planning for 44 rooms.
Yes, that's a big peak.
That's a big peak. And my pit is we're currently renovating our ensuite in our house. I ordered like a pan, toilet,
Yeah.
and opened box this morning. It was all smashed.
Oh no.
So it's something very, very minor.
But it's so annoying.
It's just so annoying.
Yeah.
And it's just me trying to save money. I thought, I'm not going to go to the merchants. I ordered stuff online, and then first item that came was not the right size. Second item now is obviously smashed. I've got trades coming on a Saturday. I'm going away later today as well. So I've literally got to get a replacement there before he gets there on Saturday. So it's not the end of the world, but we'll get it done.
Yeah.
Annoying.
Beautiful. Thanks for
Thank
coming on. It's been a pleasure. So
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
I hope everyone's enjoyed listening to Sean and his journey. There's been a few funny stories there. For anyone who's maybe not seen you before, if they haven't seen you before and what you do, then obviously you must be living under a rock. But if they want to continue to follow your journey, maybe invest with you, where can they find you?
So, are you gonna put our socials on the?
Yeah, we can put your socials out there. Yeah.
So, if my Instagram is Sean C Property, it's the same as my YouTube, and then I'm also on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Same name, Sean C Property.
Yeah, perfect. And we'll make sure when we put it out in the YouTube form and Spotify, we'll attach the handles there. So thank you for coming again, guys. Thank you for giving us a listen. And it's been a pleasure.
What do you say? Like, comment, subscribe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thanks, Sean.
Yeah, sure.
We're dead on
Right on
time.
time.